Hey guys, so we've been waiting ages. Final Fantasy VII Remake is finally here. Everybody is taking a crack at this. I got it and I finished it, and so I thought that just as something different, I would share a bunch of tips that I found useful and that I don't think the game really teaches you. These are just little things that helped me get through the game, just settings that I turned on that I found that I liked, and just a couple of little things that I just found and thought, oh, that's pretty cool. So let's jump straight in. The first one that I found that I am sad to admit took me far too long. It's holding L1 to multicast. When you go through the game, you're going to be picking up potions, you're going to be getting materia that lets you heal, and there's going to be situations where your party is going to get smashed up and you're going to want to heal multiple times in a row. Now, for about 30 hours of the game, I would go into the menu, and then I would go to the item that I wanted to use, I would heal, then I'd have to go back into the menu, then back to the spell, heal again. Turns out there's actually an option to multicast, so to use it over and over again without having to jump through the menus again. So if you go into the spell from the menu, so in this case we'll use Cure, you would go Magic, and then you would go into Cure, and then once you get to the screen where you select which character you want to cure, you'll notice up here in the left-hand corner, there's this little L1 multicast, or multi-use button. Just hold that down and hit X on what you want to do, and it will let you continually cast that. This is really good so you don't end up with like 90 potions that you just don't want to use. That'll let you recover a little bit more easily from battle. It's probably the biggest thing that I found was the most useful. Alright, just a small one now. I found that when you use Barrett as a character, he has his main attack where he shoots for a bunch and then the last couple of bullets do a bunch of damage. And then he has his overcharge ability that allows him to shoot a bunch of big shots. And it would normally recharge up slowly. And you can press triangle to kind of pump his arm so that he'll get a little bit extra on that recharge bar. Well, I noticed as kind of like a trick shot that you can do, if you wait until the end of his main attack, when his arm is in the air after firing his last shot, and then you tap triangle, the animation for pumping his shot will be significantly shorter, so you can kind of use auto attack and then pump it at the end of that auto attack, and then use auto attack again to kind of get into a bit of a rhythm in order to be able to use his overcharge triangle ability much quicker. The next big one that really got me was the camera distance. From the very get-go, I felt that it was very tight and claustrophobic, and after only maybe 20 or 30 minutes of this, I started getting really frustrated and I started digging through the menus. And it turns out there is this setting here that allows you to move the camera further back away from Cloud. You only have a couple of settings, but it's well worth doing. Here's the before and after. It doesn't look like it helps much, but it makes a big difference. And as you'll see, the camera kind of pans up a little bit more too, which gives you a little bit more scope of what you're looking at. And as you probably also saw, there's a battle version of this, so you can do the same thing and fiddle with that battle setting, and that will pull the camera back during the battles, which again pans it up a little bit and lets you get a little bit more idea of what's around you. And there's a bunch of other settings that you can dig through and fiddle with in this menu. Things like that you can fiddle with to really kind of tweak your game how you want it. So you probably already stumbled across the L1 shortcuts menu. This basically just lets you set up holding down L1 and pressing one of the face buttons to use an ability without having to dig through the menu. And that's great. But I also noticed that when you go into this menu, once you have unlocked the magnify materia, which basically lets your spells kind of bounce off one person to another at a reduced damage, normally you would have to go in through the menu, pick the spell, toggle on with L1 in the same way that you use Multiuse, the magnify ability, and then use that ability. So instead, if you go into the battle settings, pick which spell you want and put it on an option, you can hit L1 here, which will toggle on and off whether you want that spell to be used in its magnify mode. So now when you hold L1, it will be the magnified version instead of the normal single target version. Okay, this is kind of just a numbers thing, but if you get the restore materia, which you get fairly early in the game, it lets you use the raise magic ability, which is essentially bringing someone back from the dead, same as the Phoenix Down. But if you go in and have a look at those numbers, it takes 5,000 AP to get raise leveled up so that you can get that materia to the second level to use a rise. Now, that's a hell of a lot of AP, and there's a good chance that you probably, even if you're going through a normal, aren't going to be able to get that much AP in the first playthrough. So if you want to be able to use that Arise ability, you are going to want to plan to have that materia attached to a player early, and you are going to want it to be on the entire time. So if a character moves out of your party, you're going to want to take that and you're going to stick it on one of the characters that are now in your party so that it's constantly gaining AP. So this one is definitely in the game and it's told to you. Through the upgrade weapons menu, you can jump into each of the different weapons that you get, and you can upgrade it using SP. You can completely automate this process by selecting the weapon in the upgrade menu option and pressing triangle. This will bring up a series of options which lets you decide how you want those skills to be spent. For me personally, I just prioritized all attack on everything except for Aerith's, where I went balanced, and it worked out great. It just meant a lot less digging into menus and a lot less tweaking on things. Just means that it's one less thing to micromanage. And the last one is just something that I personally found. Eventually you're going to unlock a materia that is called elemental. What that basically does is allow your normal square attack to have an affinity towards an element. Now, from what my build was, I found that lots and lots and lots of things are weak against fire. Heaps of stuff is weak against fire. And if it's not weak against fire, it's probably weak against thunder. And so what I sort of ended up doing with my build was I had fire and elemental on Cloud's main sword, which I did most of my combat as Cloud. Cloud would do fire damage against most things, and then I backed that up by having Barrett with thunder and elemental, because thunder is good against a lot of the Shinra machine weaponry. I just found that to be something that really worked for me. If you're having trouble with certain battles, or you just wanted to like cruise through things a little bit easier, that seemed to be a good little build that worked for me. Normally on this channel you'll find a bunch of game design stuff. This is a playlist of really quick 1-minute videos. You can just get a feel for what the channel's like. Maybe go and check some of those out. Subscribe. Thanks for watching.